What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Truck Talk, brought to you by me, inspired by my man Chili. I want to talk to you guys today about the use of psychedelic drugs. All right, psychedelic drugs, and also kind of another thing that could play into this conversation or go right side by side is the use of future technology that is going to unlock hidden potential in the human brain. Something like Neuralink or whatever else comes out in the future. But for the sake of this conversation, we are going to just use the word psychedelic drugs. This is a mainstream conversation right now. You guys know that, there are a lot of studies going on about this stuff. There are a lot of people using psychedelic drugs now as treatment for PTSD and, just experimenting with it to unlock, things in their brain and access stuff that they have never accessed before. And I believe, it's my belief that many of the people that we know and hear from and hear about who are highly successful, the use of these psychedelic drugs has played a big role in the success that they have experienced in this life. Now, I'm not saying that it is the number one ingredient. I'm not saying it didn't take hard work and all that stuff, but I'm saying the use of psychedelics does play into this whole nother level of success and creativity and knowledge in some way. That being said, I believe that if the Lord lets me continue to live, there's going to be a time in my life where those of us who choose not to use these drugs will become obsolete in culture, in society. That we will not be able to keep up with the knowledge and the intellect and the advancement of the portion of the population who is leveraging the use of these drugs. So you might be saying, well, Chad, all right, well, it sounds like, you're advocating for the use of these drugs. Why would you not do it? They are truly unlocking things in the human brain and producing real results. Why I would never use them is because I believe the parts of the human brain that are being unlocked by the use of these drugs are parts of the brain that we can no longer wield as human beings in our fallen state. As a fallen race of man, I do not believe that we can wield those parts of our brain. And I believe that when we unlock them in the state that we are currently in as humanity, when we unlock them, it will ultimately lead to our destruction because we cannot wield them. I believe those parts of our brain that we are unlocking were actually used by man, the first man, in the beginning of creation when he was in the state of perfection, walking with God in the garden. But when man fell, so much of our capacity and our ability was diminished. And in this fallen state, we cannot leverage those parts of our brain naturally. It's almost to our own good that we can't tap into them. Because when we do tap them, we ultimately cannot wield them and they will lead to our destruction. Now, that destruction may not look like what we think destruction should look like, in what we perceive as reality. Me personally, I want to remain in the state that I am in naturally. I don't want to be high. I don't want to try to tap parts of my brain that are, not being utilized. I want to be in the state that I am in and remain as close to pure as I can possibly be. All right? We read in the Bible, and all of my worldview is shaped by the Bible. We read in the Bible that Noah was chosen to be saved because he was pure in all his generations, meaning his bloodline and his state was pure. He was pure human, right? And we read about the reason the world was destroyed is because humanity had become corrupt in their very nature. Now, this corruption of human nature that we read about in Genesis didn't look bad. It actually, the Bible actually references these individuals who were corrupt in their nature as men of renown. Men who possessed great ability physically, mentally, they had great knowledge, men of renown. But ultimately, they were destroyed because of their corruption, the corruption of their very humanness. And that's what I don't ever want to do, is corrupt who God has chosen me to be as human right now by the use of some drug or some technology, and potentially tap some part of my brain that becomes destructive to me in my fallen state right now. And hopefully all those parts of our brain that are asleep right now will be reawakened when the Lord consummates his kingdom and we receive our eternal, perfect body at the end of the age. That's what I believe those parts of the brain are for. Maybe this is way too out there for you guys. It's my 2 cents. You ought to think about it. By the way, drop some questions in the comments right here. You guys know Mondays are Q&A. I love to hear from you guys. If you got anything out of this episode, go get you a hat, get you a t-shirt, keep my man Chili in the dungeon. I love you guys. I'll catch you soon. Enough said.